Hey everyone, welcome back to channel. Today we're diving into a small but fascinating piece of Canadian history, the 1981 Canadian 1-cent coin. This classic coin may not be in circulation anymore, but it still holds a special place in the hearts of collectors and history buffs alike. Let's explore its design, history, and value. So grab a comfy seat and let's get started. First, let's rewind to the 1980s. Canada was undergoing some major changes during this decade, and like all coins, the Canadian 1 cent captured a bit of that era's spirit. The Canadian penny, or loonie, was a familiar sight in everyone's pocket or wallet, and was used daily for small purchases. In 1981, the coin was minted in large numbers, meeting the demand for these small coins in everyday transactions. But even though these 1-cent coins were once common, they represent something unique about Canada's coinage history. In fact, this was one of the last decades before Canadian 1-cent coins were completely phased out in 2012, marking the end of a long chapter in Canadian currency economy conniving in Canada. All right, now this was one of the last decades for the 1991 Canadian 1-cent coins. This coin has a diameter of 19.5 millimeters and weighs about 2.5 grams, is made of 98% copper with small amounts of zinc and tin, giving it that iconic reddish-brown color we associate with pennies. Now, take a closer look at the design. The obverse, or front, of the coin displays a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, Canada's head of state. This design was created by artist Arnold Machin, who also designed Queen Elizabeth's portraits for many other Commonwealth countries. The reverse or back of the coin shows Canada's national symbol, the maple leaf, paired with the word Canada and the year 1981. This design was the work of Canadian artist George Kruger Gray. One of the reasons why the 1981 Canadian 1-cent coin is interesting is its production numbers. In 1981, the Royal Canadian Mint produced a total of 1.2 billion pennies. This made it one of the more common pennies of the era. Despite the high mintage, the coin's unique design and historical significance still make it popular among collectors today. Additionally, the Canadian Mint has a reputation for its high-quality minting process. Even with billions minted, the level of detail on these coins is impressive. Each maple leaf is distinct, and the shine of copper makes it an attractive cut. So we know that over 1 billion were Canadian 1-cent coin. Since these coins were produced in large quantities, they are not considered particularly rare in circulated condition. However, finding one in high-grade condition, such as mint state or uncirculated, can be a bit more challenging. In circulated condition, they often show signs of wear, such as fading on the maple leaf or small scratches, which is typical for coins that have been in circulation for years. But if you manage to find a 1981 penny that's still in excellent shape, you may be looking at something special. Collectors often look for these unblemished, high-quality versions to add to their collections. So, what is the 1981 Canadian 1-cent coin worth today? In circulated condition, these pennies are fairly common and usually worth around their face value, or slightly more due to the metal content, especially if they're 98% copper. Copper itself has a higher value than the coin's original face value, making the coin attractive for its material alone. In higher grades, like in MS65 or MS66, which are nearly perfect coins, the value can increase. These higher grade versions can go for anywhere from $1 to $5, depending on the demand and overall market trends for copper coins. Here's a fun fact. Did you know that in 2012, Canada officially stopped minting the 1-cent coin? It was costing more than a penny to produce each one due to rising metal costs. So if you have Canadian pennies from any year, especially ones in good condition, you're holding onto a piece of Canadian history that will never be produced again. So there you have it, a closer look at the 1981 Canadian 1-cent coin. Although these pennies aren't worth much in circulated condition, they hold a lot of history. And with the phasing out of the 1-cent coin in Canada, they're bound to become more interesting to collectors in the years to come. 1982 Canada 1-cent coin, an iconic piece of Canadian numismatic history. Let's get started. The Canada 1-cent coin, often called the penny, has a long-standing tradition in Canadian currency. The 1982 penny is part of the larger series that features Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and the iconic maple leaf twig design on the reverse. Designed by Arnold Machen, the obverse features a youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which was first introduced in 1965. The reverse, designed by G. Kruger Gray, showcases two maple leaves, a proud symbol of Canada's heritage. In 1982, the Royal Canadian Mint produced these pennies in large quantities at its Winnipeg facility. Made of 98% copper with traces of zinc and tin, these coins weigh 3.24 grams and have a diameter of 19.5 meters. To understand the significance of the 1982 penny, we must explore the economic backdrop of the time. The early 1980s were marked by economic challenges, including inflation and fluctuating commodity prices. Copper, the primary material in pennies, became increasingly valuable. Despite these challenges, the 1982 penny remained a cost-efficient and practical denomination for everyday transactions, from buying a cup of coffee to giving change at grocery stores. Approximately 1.5 billion 1-cent coins. This massive production ensured that pennies were readily available for circulation across Canada. However, as copper prices began to rise, discussions about the penny's viability emerged. This coin represents a time when the penny was still a crucial part of Canada's monetary system. The 1982 penny was a workhorse in Canadian commerce. From cash registers to piggy banks, these coins were a familiar sight. For many Canadians, pennies were used for everyday purchases, small tips, and even as tokens of good luck. Although their monetary value was small, pennies played a big role in fostering savings habits, especially among children. Who doesn't remember the joy of filling a jar with pennies? Today, the 1982 Canada 1-cent coin holds sentimental value for collectors and history enthusiasts. Since Canada discontinued the penny in 2012, older pennies, like the 1982 pennies with minimal wear, strong luster, and no scratches or discoloration. Did you know, if edition have become sought items, while circulated 1982 pennies typically hold face value, uncirculated or high-grade specimens can fetch a few dollars from collectors. Look for who lined up every 1982 penny ever minted. The line would stretch thousands of kilometers. These coins were so abundant that they often outlasted wallets and purses, ending up in jars and drawers. The 1982 Canada 1-cent coin is more than just a piece of copper. It's a reflection of Canadian history, culture, and everyday life. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just discovering the joys of numismatics, this coin reminds us of the humble penny's lasting impact. The 1996 1-cent coin. What makes this tiny piece of metal so unique, and what role has it played in Canadian history? Let's find out. The Canadian 1-cent coin, often referred to as the penny, was first minted in 1858, when Canada was still a British colony. Over the years, the penny underwent numerous design and material changes, reflecting the country's evolving identity. By 1996, the 1-cent coin had already become a symbol of Canada's economic and cultural legacy. But let's take a closer look at that particular year. The 1996 penny carries the classic design we've come to associate with Canadian coins. On the adverse, we see the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pedery Hunt. This portrait was introduced in 1990 and remained on the coin until the penny's retirement in 2012. The reverse features the iconic maple leaf design by G.E. Kruger Gray, a symbol of Canadian pride and heritage. By 1996, Canadian pennies were made primarily from copper-plated zinc. This was a shift from the earlier bronze compositions used prior to 1997. The Royal Canadian Mint, headquartered in Winnipeg, struck approximately 716 million 1-cent coins in 1996. That's right, 716 million. This large production run was typical during the 1990s, as pennies were still widely used for everyday transactions. In 1996, the penny was an essential part of Canadian commerce, whether it was given as change at the grocery store or dropped into a vending machine. Pennies were everywhere. They were also commonly saved in jars and piggy banks, as inflation consulted for most purchasing power as inflation continued to rise. Though the 1996 penny was part of a larger story, it represents a period when the coin was still a vital piece of Canadian life. Fast forward to 2012, the Royal Canadian Mint officially ceased production of the penny, citing high production costs and limited use in transactions. Today, these little coins are treasured by collectors and historians as a window into Canada's economic past. If you're wondering about the collectability of the 1996 penny, here's the scoop. Due to its high mintage, the coin isn't considered rare in circulated condition. However, uncirculated examples, or those with mint errors, can fetch a few dollars among collectors. So, next time you come across a 1996 penny, give it a closer look. It might hold more value than you think. 2004 Canada 1-cent coin, a humble piece of copper-plated steel with a rich history. From its design to its role in Canadian everyday life, this coin has a story that connects Canadians to their past. The 200 for 1-cent coin features a timeless design. On the obverse, we see the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by artist Susanna Blunt. This design was introduced in 2003 and showcases a mature portrayal of the Queen without her crown, reflecting her status as a modern monarch. Turning to the reverse, we have the iconic maple leaf design by G.E. Kruger Gray, first used in 1937. This symbol of Canada has graced the penny for decades, embodying the nation's identity and natural beauty. The 2004 penny was struck from copper-plated steel. This shift from bronze, made in the late 1990s, marked a cost-saving measure as the value of materials rose. Despite its modest face value, this small coin represented economic adaptation in an ever-changing world. In 2004, the Royal Canadian Mint produced millions of 1-cent coins. These coins were minted in Winnipeg, Manitoba. The Hub e-penny was a workhorse of Canadian currency. Used daily in transactions, repository for countless taxes, and records of primary and middle nature coin presentations, final transactions. It's a coin every Canadian carried in. Seniors not so sure about how many members needed the penny, that they signed up for an option down the list of Pride Commerce classes and secretly began designation based on defense work conditions and immediate and proud progress classes, symbolizing trust in cash transactions and declining use. The 2012, the Canadian government decided to phase out the penny due to rising production costs and declining use. The 2004 penny, like others, was officially withdrawn from circulation. Even after its withdrawal, many Canadians kept their pennies as souvenirs or reminders of simpler times. The coin's legacy lives on, not just as a piece of history, but as a cultural artifact that evokes nostalgia. Today, the 2004 penny is sought after by collectors and cherished by those who appreciate its historical significance. While it's not a rare coin, its sentimental value makes it special to many people. The many distinctive coinages that collectors and enthusiastic conventional families make of their time in Canadian numismatic history. In circulated condition, it's worth its face value. just 1 cent. However, in uncirculated or mint condition, it may fetch a bit more, depending on its quality and demand. Look for coins with minimal wear or special features like minting eras, which can significantly increase their value. While it's not a coin that will make you rich, it's a meaningful addition to any Canadian coin collection. The 2004 Canada 1 cent coin is more than just a small piece of metal. It's a reminder of Canada's economic and cultural journey. Whether you find one in your old coin jar or add one to your collection, it's a piece of history worth celebrating. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into coin history, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to your channel name for more fascinating stories. See you next time.